What is the highest purpose of a university? When speaking of the university he founded, the University of Virginia, Thomas Jefferson said, "This institution will be based on the illimitable freedom of the human mind. For here, we are not afraid to follow truth wherever it may lead, nor to tolerate any error, so long as reason is left free to combat it." College campuses are meant to be sanctuaries, as well as arenas, where ideologies meet, sometimes collide, and students are exposed to new perspectives, including those that challenge their most closely held beliefs. But something is changing on campuses. Instead of welcoming the play of opposing ideas and celebrating the full spectrum of human knowledge, campuses too often shut down debate. They quash unfashionable opinions, bar controversial speakers and scholars, prohibit words, embrace narrow orthodoxies, and demand conformity. Alumni all over the country have started to take notice of these alarming trends at their own alma maters.
I was at UVA during the tail end of the Vietnam War, and it was wide open. I mean, it was a very polarized time. The difference was no one felt any compunction about expressing themselves back then. I mean, in the dormitories and all sorts of other venues, we had these wild, open-ended debates, and we'd get emotional and we would argue and argue and argue. But at the end of it, it was like, oh, okay, we're still friends. And now people argue, and it's like, oh, you're my enemy.
Ed Yingling and Stuart Taylor Jr., two Princeton alumni, had recognized the growing threat to freedom of expression at their own alma mater. Rather than disengage, they took action, exposing not only the crisis at Princeton, but at universities nationwide. On October 17, 2021, the Wall Street Journal published their op-ed, which stated, "Champions of free speech among faculty are badly outnumbered, even as many left-of-center professors are starting to realize that they, too, can be brutally canceled by the mob. Those few students and faculty who speak up often feel isolated and exposed."
Our theory, and we think it's correct, is that you have certain groups in a college. You have students, you have faculty, you have the administrators. But in most schools, unfortunately, it's difficult for them the minority of students, they may not be a minority, but the minority of faculty, they may not be a minority, but they're being overwhelmed by an organized group that's trying to shut down free speech. And the polls have all shown that students don't understand free speech. In fact, many of them oppose it. And the administrators, they are often really a problem. And the president may or may not be a problem, but is got all these people on campus that are a problem. So who's left? Alumni. And so that's why we believe that it may be up to the alumni to save the day.
That 600-word essay became a clarion call, unleashing a surge of energy among alumni across the country. Inquiries poured in, and the Alumni Free Speech Alliance, or AFSA, was born.
The first step, I'd say, is to raise your hand and to remind those around you that you care about the well-being and the future of the institution. The lesson today is the more polarized the society we live in, the more people are open to propaganda and open to ideas that aren't always versed in fact. Oftentimes, there's the vilification of the other simply based on what they perceive, as opposed to any real ability to sit down and rationalize and learn someone else's perspective. Students, alumni, faculty, magic happens when they come together in a way that is very open and very interested in learning the perspective of the other, something that they haven't heard before.
For members of AFSA, e pluribus unum, out of many, one, is not just a national maxim carved over a pediment, but a lifelong operational principle. Dr. Michael Poliakoff, president of the American Council of Trustees and Alumni, and an alumnus of Yale University, Oxford University, and the University of Michigan, understands the influence alumni can have when they unite.
Alumni can do wonderful things for their alma maters, not just to give them financial support, but to pull them back to the values that have shaped their own educations and have made them what they are today. It is a fundamental miscarriage of an institution's vision to think of its alumni as simply a group of walking checkbooks. They are the guardians of values.
Members of AFSA are not alone. A network of like-minded allies serves as connectors and partners, working toward common ends. These groups provide counsel, technical support, training, and research to help AFSA members achieve their goals.
I think that it really has given me a lot of hope for universities that we have a new stakeholder group, because for so many years, alumni were content to cut checks to their university and to really just pay attention to the sports teams and the new buildings and the beautiful campus and to their own kind of rose-colored memories of their times on campus, and not pay attention to the directions universities are now going in, to the problems on university campuses. And AFSA has kind of awoken alumni knowledge and interest in all of those issues.
This is a chance for us to really come together and realize we are not alone in this effort. Alumni can come and see that they are one of many, and that together they can affect so much change than they ever could just by themselves.
To that end, in late 2021, ACTA launched the Campus Freedom Initiative and released its gold standard for freedom of expression, offering alumni, students, faculty, and administrators a workable blueprint on how to preserve, restore, and even expand robust debate and free expression on campus. A new breed of alumni is emerging. Alumni dedicated to the cause of freedom of expression on campus. They are forging a new path, encouraging others to be more than cheerleaders, check writers, and rubber stamps to their alma maters.
Well, I think the future of the country depends on the educational system. Usually, you don't expect kids to know that much about free speech when they arrive at college. You would hope that they'd have a sense of our national heritage and they'd have learned some history, but it's college where they should really learn how free speech works in practice, how it helps you figure out what you think, how it helps you communicate with your fellow students and your professors and the people you go to work for after college.
I care deeply about my country, and I'm very worried about its future. And the one thing I felt that I could do in my retirement where I could make a real difference was at my school and to do something about it. I know it's just one small step, but I felt I could make a difference.
We might heed the words of President John F. Kennedy.
We are not afraid to entrust the American people with unpleasant facts, foreign ideas, alien philosophies, and competitive values. For a nation that is afraid to let its people judge the truth and falsehood in an open market is a nation that is afraid of its people.
Alumni are rising. Join us.